Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners business meeting. Ladies and gentlemen, you turn off your phones. I just heard one ringing there. Be sure to mute your phones. That'd really help tonight. We will take the agenda a little out of order. We'll do the Housing Authority consent agenda and then a presentation, a rather short one, prior to citizen communication. Therefore, we convene this meeting as the Housing Authority Board for the first item. I'd like, oh, that's coming. Honestly, on here. That's my script. Mary does it. It's right on. I'd like to welcome Paul Reynolds from the as a Housing Authority Commissioner down here. And Mr. Krepp, will you do the roll call?
Certainly. Commissioner Bernard? Here. Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Here.
Commissioner Savas?
Here.
Commissioner Schrader?
Here.
Chair Ludlow?
Here. You'll all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So therefore, the first item on the agenda is a Housing Authority consent agenda. I'll ask the clerk to read the Housing Authority consent agenda by title.
Okay, the Housing Authority consent agenda, approval of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Family Self-Sufficiency Grant Award, and approval of an amendment to the contract with PSB Engineering and Environmental Professional Service to provide environmental testing and renovation at the Easton Ridge Renovation Project. And that concludes the Housing Authority consent agenda.
Do any of the commissioners want to remove or pull any of the items? And I'll ask Commissioner Reynolds for the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the Housing Authority agenda, consent agenda.
All right. Is there a second? Okay, the motion's been made by Commissioner Reynolds, seconded by Commissioner Bernard. Any further discussion? I'll ask the clerk to call a poll.
Commissioner Reynolds.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader. Aye. Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Bernard.
Aye.
Chair Ludlow.
Aye, passes 6-0. Paul, thank you very much. I appreciate you being here. We'll announce that the board will adjourn as the Housing Authority Board and convene as the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners for the remainder of the meeting. We have a presentation, Mr. Krupp.
Yes, as you are well aware, about a month or so ago, the Board of County Commissioners took action to adopt the Transportation System Plan, which sets transportation priorities for the county for the next 20 years. We are here tonight to thank the members of the Public Advisory Committee for all of the hard and diligent work that they put into in helping put together the plan that was adopted by the board. I am going to invite Barb Cartmill and Karen Buehrig up to commence the recognition. Thank you. Oh, and Mr. Mike Besner is here as well. Excuse me.
Yes, so Mike and I are going to say a few words, and Barb's going to help us pass out the certificates.
Yeah. So Mike Besner, Engineering Manager, and proud to be here. Our Public Advisory Committee for the Transportation System Plan. This is a 2-year effort, and they've done a fabulous job. We haven't had a new plan in about 10 years, and so it was important to have a very good public involvement so that the new plan would actually reflect what people want and what they value. And they kept us in line and pointed in the right direction many times. We did the same, so it was a good back and forth, and it was quite the process. And Karen can step us through what that process was.
Well, I feel very honored to be a part of this recognition because these members of the public put in numerous hours of dedication because of their love of Clackamas County, honestly. They participated in 12 public advisory committee meetings that were each over 3 hours. They also attended PAC informational sessions and policy work group meetings and geographic sub-area work group meetings. They were just essential in tying us to the local neighborhoods. They provided us guidance with the vision and goals for the transportation system, which were used throughout the entire process. They really dedicated countless hours and attention to participating in this project. As I said, these are people who care about the transportation system and they care about their neighborhoods. The PAC members were a diverse group of people that were a solid cross-section from the county. In addition to the hours that they spent at these meetings, they spent traveling to these meetings. We had representatives from the Mount Hood area and from Malino and around Malala, and they had to travel quite far to come to all of these meetings. There were intense discussions and a wide variety of views. But in the end, the group was able to achieve consensus in their recommendation, and which was approved by the board last month with only a few minor changes. So I really believe that this was a truly impressive accomplishment, and I guess I'm humbled each time I see people really dedicate themselves. So we wanted to be able to invite the members up, to be able to have a picture with you, and to receive a certificate of appreciation. So that's.
Want me to present those?
We have actually Barb here. And so we were going to call them up and hand them the certificate and be able to take a photo with you. So do you want to come down to the front? And then as they're called up, they can join you and we'll get a photo. Okay? All right. So, okay, so Chips Yanger, he was the chair of our committee and really guided us through a choppy process. Okay, Charlene DeBruin. And Thomas Eskridge. Glenn Corkeson. Elizabeth Grazer-Lindsay. Bob Reeves. And Dick Weber. And so these are, okay, they can hear me? Okay, great. This is just a sampling of our committee. There were actually 22 members of the committee. So in case did I miss anyone that snuck in? I think I saw it. All right, go for it. Oh, let's go and join them. Oh.
Right over here. Here we go. 1, 2. Everyone smiles. 1, 2. Beautiful. Let's try this again. Here we go. Big smiles. 1, 2, 3. Excellent.
They did take a lot of hours doing this, and the time and driving and everything else. They put a concerted effort in that, and it was a great document that they brought forward to us. So again, congratulations to everybody. Thank you very much for serving. All right, that was the presentation. I have several cards for communication, citizens communication. And I have Les Poole and Kevin Johnson. Would you please come forward?
Good evening, Les Poole, Gladstone. We got a good crowd tonight. I'll be brief. I do know how to be brief. One thing I wanted to mention this evening is that I testified at Metro today about the CRC and some other things that have been going on. And I've been very outspoken about some of the failings of what's gone on in the region. And for those that don't know it, Metro facilitates, or as I like to say, acts as a sister act for TriMet. And some of you may have seen on Oregon Live that there is an article, and they're polling about having TriMet's board meetings in the evening. And I worked real hard with Paul Savas. I want to thank him again for being a driving force behind getting evening meetings. This gives the folks an opportunity to be here. And as you can see by the crowd, whether they're here to smile or throw tomatoes, it's just real good to see them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Les. Mr. Johnson.
Good evening. First of all, I would like to apologize to you and your staff for suggesting that your work is not getting done. I know everybody is busy, and although it took 2 months to get the letter, it did get done. So I hope you accept my apology. Apparently, your letter regarding the Gladstone Library was sent to the mayor only. Unfortunately, he either never received it or decided not to share it with anybody else. The city administrator received a copy of this morning and sent me a copy along with a copy Mr. Crump sent me. After reading the letter, I have the same question I have had since the beginning of this process. How big does the building have to be? Your letter says it has to meet a threshold level of service. Exactly what is that? I think I understand why you are reluctant to be specific. If the facility is too small and a patron from the closed Oak Grove Library has to wait too long to check out, they could complain to you that you let Gladstone build a building that is too small. If the facility is too big and Gladstone taxpayers have to pay too much of the share to build it, the measure will fail. Here's the thing. If there's not some guidance, the committee that will be chosen and start work on this project the first week of February will spend a lot of valuable time arguing about the size. The timeline to get this done is still too short, so any delay could doom the project. I would think that we'd rather take some heat for it being too small rather than you and your staff having to come up with a plan B for the Oak Grove Library closure. If that happens, you will be making far more decisions than just the square footage of a building.
Let me ask a quick question of Mr. Madcourt and Mr. Krupp. What is a threshold of service? We have a definition of that. Is that defined in the IGAs we have with each of these cities?
It's a standard, Chair, that's based on library standards. I don't know it offhand, but we'd be able to provide that to you and to Mr. Johnson, I'm sure, on Tuesday, because we're closed on Monday.
Yeah, I might mention that, Oregon City has the largest landmass area that they serve, a lot of distance that people have to drive for that. And they have a rather small library, so there must be some threshold there. Now, let's ask about any requirement for size of library. I don't believe that there is. Do you know that? I do not. Okay. And so I'll go to the commissioners. It looks, Martha, you got your light on?
No, I don't have my light on, but I will.
Oh, Jim Bernard.
Well, there is a organization that I know does an analysis of the requirements for a particular library. I know that I thought one had already been done on this, and I think that if there is such a report, we should see it. Now, I tend to think that their reports over-exaggerate the size, frankly, that is required for a library. I think years ago when Westland did a library, I remember being somewhat involved in the analysis, and Milwaukee at one point did analysis, but I thought I had actually seen a report on the analysis of the size requirements, so I think we should make sure we find that if there is such a report.
In the letter which Mr. Johnson refers to, we have encouraged all sides in Gladstone to get together and to wrestle it out and come to a conclusion as to what they'll send before the voters. Our previous deadline was, I believe, June 1st, at which time they had to resolve this issue and or we would not give them the $1 million we currently hold. However, the commission agreed to extend that until November, providing that the city of Gladstone gets the ballot measure ready by that same June date and actually filed by August, the cutoff date in August with the county clerk. Commissioner Savas.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate, Kevin, that you're taking an active role in this. And I also spoke to the mayor about this last Tuesday, and I spoke to Ed Gronke just a few days ago. And I think I agree that the time frame is too short to reasonably solve a problem like this. I do think when I do the math and realize what's taking place here is that, the Oak Lodge Jennings Lodge area is about 35,000 people. You go over the ridge, you know, and it's about another 15, 20,000. You have 55,000 people that are going to be served by this library. Gladstone's got about 10,000 people. A big proportion of that load is that unincorporated area, not Gladstone's. So I don't know what the involvement of the county was during the Gladstone study of the library that initially led to a ballot measure, but it seems like if we are carrying a significant part of that load, we should have been involved to a great degree then with staff support and identifying what those challenges are, and even at this point now, we should be involved to help and provide staff support if we're asking. We can't ask the city of Gladstone and all those committee folks to pick up and answer all those questions. So I would encourage, especially the fact that we're also setting, I think, again, a kind of an unreasonable deadline, but we're going to work with that, I guess, and try to make some traction on this. So whatever we can provide, I don't see Gary Barth here tonight, but I would certainly, that's his department, and I would encourage that, you know, maybe we'll discuss this Tuesday under issues. What kind of staff support are we providing to answer these questions in a timely way?
Commissioner Schrader, yeah, you'll get back to you.
I would just want to mention, if you really want to know library standards, I would suggest going to the American Library Association website as well as the Oregon Library Association website. Essentially, those professional organizations of trained information specialists have policy papers and guidelines for library sizes, collection size, with all different kinds of media based on the population that you're trying to serve. So, Mr. Madcore, I assume that when we're going to look at those standards, that's probably the first place to take a look. And I've been Googling it here as we sit and discuss this, and it has everything from how you serve people to disabilities to the size of the library, collection standards, and so on and so forth. And when we first initiated this notion of a library district, what we talked about was a threshold level of service, and what we're not talking about is a Cadillac. As I've said, we're talking about a VW bus where, you know, we're meeting a threshold, but it is all documented by those professional library associations about what those standards are.
Well, they have spent $1.5 million so far on the Volkswagen, so we'll see how they do.
Yeah.
Kevin?
So those standards that you're talking about, there's probably not a library in the state of Oregon that meets those standards.
Actually, the state library does, as well as Lake Oswego.
Okay, one in Lake Oswego, okay. So you understand the problem that I think we face. If Gladstone decides they can afford to build let's say 10,000 square foot library, and they say they are going to serve the Oak Grove citizens after their library closes, and they work on this for the next 5 months, and they have something to go on the ballot, they bring it up here, show it to you, and then all of a sudden you say, no, that's not big enough. And so then we start over. If it's not big enough to serve all the people, because it doesn't come close to meeting the Oregon standard, then where do we go?
We will talk, this is on issues. I've placed it on issues for Tuesday, at which time we will address some questions that come up here tonight from yourself and other commissioners. And, you know, be sure to watch that, and we'll give as many answers as we can based on the questions again tonight. Commissioner Schrader.
Yes, you can find on the website a checklist of library building design considerations by William W. Sanwald, and it is an American Library Association resource, and it covers everything from design, wireless networking, information, treatments of special collections, materials handling systems, disaster planning, and ADA accessibility guidelines to match structure of the federal statute. So there is a lot out there. It's a pretty comprehensive piece of work that talks about exterior considerations as well as the interior organization of library buildings, and then again the federal standards for ADA accessibility, telecommunications, interior design, building systems, security, safety. So this information is easily available, and I suggest people who are interested in libraries go to the website and get access to these standards that we're talking about.
And so
Kevin,
the
wrap it
square
up.
footage standard for, if Gladstone has to meet the standard to serve the people that you want them to serve, the square footage of that building would have to be 35,000 square feet.
Well, we'll check out that figure and have an answer for that this coming Tuesday. Mr. Krupp, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr., oh, it says Krupp here, oh, Mr. Krupp.
I've got my light on. So
Yeah,
I was just going
that's blowing my
to
mind.
say that staff are prepared to follow up. I do know that they have had conversations with the staff, with the city of Gladstone over the course of the past several months, and will be available to be of support as this process continues. They'll be able to talk about what it is we mean by threshold of standards along the way, and as a proposal is developed and brought back to the Board of County Commissioners to consider.
Okay, thank you. Mariana Moore. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a little after this, right after this is a discussion item. Right now it's 6:23. If you'd all please turn in any cards. If you want to speak, now is the time to turn in your cards. At 6:40, I'll not be receiving any more blue cards. So that's a lot of time in order for you to decide. Mariana Moore.
Yes, Mariana Moore from Gladstone. I really wasn't. Sometimes somebody says something and I think, oh, that needs more response. Because I've been in Gladstone for over 50 years, and this library has been a big issue. And one of the big things you're talking about, the size of it, as Martha's talked about, I think we went through all those things from the Library Association, and it seems like they're not up with the times. We have a new librarian there that's doing an excellent job with what we have. She got rid of a lot of the old books that nobody checks out, and she's looking at the more modern technology. They've gotten rid of the old VCR tapes, and they've just, we've got all the DVDs now. There's so many changes from what the Library Association says you have to have so much space for. And so I think we're looking at a whole different thing now than what you get from them. And in addition to that, we have all those 35,000 people in Oak Grove that have never hardly been in on the discussion. You go down there, they act like their library's going well, which it seems to be, and yet they're saying, oh no, your library's going to close, and you're going to go to Gladstone. And anybody that's seen the site where they were proposing to put that knows that that's not a good place for people from Oak Grove to go. And so I just think we need to start with a different set of standards than what you're talking about, where to go to find them.
Whatever standards that we've had for the rest of the libraries will be revealed very soon, and that's the standards that Gladstone will have to follow. But I just don't know the figures. I don't think anybody else has them here tonight.
You provided the one up there on Sunnyside Road, so do you know if it fulfilled those standards?
I'm sure it does. But those may not be minimum standards. They may be a little bit more than that. Again, we're here tonight without the information, and as Mr. Madcore said, but it'll all be revealed on Tuesday, probably in a handout and available online. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Now, this is a discussion item. Tonight is an item for discussion and public comment. There will be no board action on this item tonight. So I will start reading these cards. I'll call you up in twos and put two on deck. If you could come up as soon thereafter as those first two people finish, that would be greatly appreciated. Ed Darnell.
Chair, if I may, excuse me, I believe that the request, and I believe Mr. Krupp acknowledged that the request was to have basically a brief staff presentation about this item so that the public can understand it. That was the request.
I don't know how the public can understand a very complicated contract.
A brief overview, sir.
If Cindy Becker would come up, we can certainly get an introduction to this. I don't know about a full presentation.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the Commission. For the record, I'm Cindy Becker, the Director of Health, Housing, and Human Services, and with me is Rich Swift, who is the Deputy for the same department. Because we knew you were having a discussion today, essentially what we did in our staff report was to provide an update to talk about the various conversations and the process that we have used up to this point, starting with the development of an ambulance services plan, which was approved by the board in 2012. We then proceeded to work with our partners. We also brought on a consultant to work with us as a nationally recognized consultant in developing requests for proposals. And so we did develop a request for proposal. We had a mandatory meeting with potential vendors, and then we received the results. Actually, we received responses. We received one response for the RFP. We then, at the direction of the board, moved forward with review of the contract, with negotiations with AMR, and we have had a lot of conversations about the terms and conditions of those contracts. There was a variety of questions that were asked. We posted the proposed contract. Am I too close here?
Yes.
I'm spitting. Sorry. We posted the proposed contract as well as the RFP and the response to the RFP on the county's website, invited public questions and comments on that. We brought those questions and comments to the board for discussion, and we've had, I think, a couple of study sessions where we've had a discussion of those questions. One of the concerns that the board raised was the part of the contract, and by the way, this is a very, I'm sure that I don't have to explain this to the audience, but this is a very complex contract arrangement. This is not your run-of-the-mill contract. And so there were some pieces of the contract the board was very concerned about. There were subcontracts with some of the fire districts. Those subcontracts were negotiated between AMR and the fire districts, and they've been signed. And so we bring this really back to the board for an update. And any questions?
Chair, I do. Just want to clarify, because there's been some question as to whether or not all the questions have been answered, and I requested from you, Cindy, earlier this week, a list of all the questions that were submitted and the responses to those, and you gave me one document from a presentation dated October 22nd and one from December 10th, and so to date, I gather that's the questions that have been submitted, and these are the responses to those questions.
Correct.
Thank you.
Anything else, commissioners? Any other questions? All right. So again, we'll call you up in twos and two on deck. It's Ed Darnell and Joy Lott, followed by Joe Haverkamp and Steve Fritz. Either one of you can go ahead and start.
Okay. Good evening, Commissioners and Chair Ludlow. My name is Joy Lott. I have lived in Clackamas County since my husband, Jesse Lott, was transferred here in 1984. Fortunately, as a career federal civil service employee, I could transfer to a federal agency in this area. I accepted a position with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, where I remained there as a supervisory program and budget analyst until I retired. I am an elder in the Presbyterian Church and have been active in several local, state, and national organizations. The 29-plus years I have lived here is longer than I've ever lived anywhere. This became our home. I sincerely care about my community, Clackamas County, and the state of Oregon. That is why I feel obligated to speak. I'm seriously concerned if Metro is so inefficient they can't submit their bid on time, why in the world would I trust them to get me to the hospital on time? That's not a very reassuring thought at all. Actually, it's downright scary. In my opinion, Metro lost the right to be considered when they failed to submit their bid by the deadline. They had ample opportunity to meet that deadline. Another important thought. To the average citizen, this reconsideration of Metro's bid after the fact suspiciously looks and smells of dishonesty by the commissioners supporting it. I'm sure you've heard, if it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Any commissioner accepting donations from Metro should recuse themselves from this vote. You know the truth will eventually be revealed. We, the citizens and voters of Clackamas County, deserve and expect better from our elected people. Don't forget who hired you by their vote. They can also fire you the same way. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a reminder, tonight we will be going, and usually I'm very loose on time, but tonight we'll be limiting to 3 minutes, so try to wrap it up when you hear the bell as soon as possible. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Ed Darnell. It's a privilege to be here tonight. Facility supervisor with Damascus Community Church and Damascus Christian School. Been employed or have had employers that are in Clackamas County since 1986. I just wanted to encourage you to consider the contract with AMR because but for their expertise, dedication, and professionalism, I wouldn't be alive today to talk to you tonight. They responded to a cardiac arrest at my work. They arrived within 3 minutes just because they were part of the community and they were just doing an errand. And they were right out in front of the building when they got the call, and they were there like that. And the gentleman that rescued me, or resuscitated me, Brett Hooper and Mike Miller. Brett happened to have been a student of the school and had graduated from there or had gone on from there. Were it not for their taking care of me in the ambulance to the hospital would not have been able to say at the end of the ordeal, we've never brought someone back who came in that way. So I just want to, encourage you to consider, continuing with AMR, because to me, they're everything.
A true miracle, huh?
Yes.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Joe Haverkamp and Steve Fritz, followed by Tom O'Connor and Shirley Sodenberg.
Hello, my name is Joe Haverkamp, Oregon City. I'm a senior, 74. My husband is a senior, 81. And we're very concerned about this ambulance service. We live in a retirement facility, and they're there all the time. And everyone's concerned about it. I retired from the medical field after 35 years. And I was elected official. My husband also retired from engineering, and he was also elected official 10 years after I was. So we are very familiar with contracts. And my husband also traveled throughout the world, and part of his job was the bidding process. When someone submits an RFP, and they do not get it in on time, they are disqualified. Now, why are we bringing this back up again for vote? They've already made the vote for us. I think that the county is putting their self way open to a lawsuit. This works in every jurisdiction and in the real world. If you do not understand that, what world are you in? Fair is fair, the law is the law. AMR did everything properly. They have been very experienced in presenting bids. And we're entering ourselves as a county, like I said, into a lawsuit. So think about it, Chair Ludlow, you presented this before us for the second time. And then another subject that I need to talk about is the contributions made to the Clackamas County Commissioners. The law says, and you all know that you have to recuse yourself if you have got a donation from Metro. You all know that. And if you do not recuse yourself, you're open to an ethics charge. And I believe you're all very familiar with ethics charges. So let's not open ourselves to a lawsuit because we don't want that. I can speak from personal experience with my mother. She was 99 years old. And AMR came and took care of her. She had shattered her leg. And they were qualified. Now, being in the medical field, I can say they were qualified. And the first 15 minutes of a person that has a cardiac arrest, a stroke, or an injury is very critical to the survival of that patient.
Joe, you're going to have to wrap it up, please.
So I think that every one of our seniors want you all to obey the law. When you submit an RFP, then follow the rules. Why should we be any different in this county than they are in any other county or anywhere? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Madcore, if the legislature was precluded and had to recuse themselves every time they took a donation from somebody, there wouldn't be much business down there. I'd ask you to give your opinion on whether it is true that it's a law that if you get a donation from somebody, you cannot enter into and must recuse yourself from voting on anything that concerns that company. Is that true?
Chair, I'm not aware of such a requirement. I know that there are conflicts issues that might preclude or direct a voting commissioner to abstain because of actual or perceived conflicts of interest. But in terms of donations, it might subject the commissioner to an ethics charge, but I'm not aware of any legislation that prohibits voting on a matter that concerns a contribution from an organization.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'll try to keep this short. My name is Steve Ritz, and I live in Estacada. As a citizen of Clackamas County, I am looking forward, actually, to the passing of this contract for ambulance service to AMR, because by doing so, this contract will lower rates, improve the EMS system by updated technology and newer equipment, decrease response times to low-volume areas by better resource distribution, and also it will continue the 100 years of service that this company has provided to the citizens of Clackamas County. I have watched as this RFP process has started, and I am excited to see how AMR has gone above what the RFP required. But now I sit with mixed emotions as to why this commission hasn't voted and passed AMR's proposal that they have worked with county staff on, thus causing further delays in the citizens receiving these benefits that I mentioned above. I, too, have used AMR service in the past, once to a serious accident that my daughter was in last year, and have nothing but praise to the crews. I can only imagine how the improvements of this RFP and this contract will help what I felt was already an excellent service. So I guess a question I have is there any reason why the commissioners won't pass this contract tonight? Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to ask a question. I can use his minutes, he said.
No, we're not transferring minutes.
Why did he recuse himself from the meeting twice?
Sorry, what was that again?
Why did Bernard recuse himself from the meeting?
Joanne, we just had the attorney.
I know
our
what the
staff
attorney said.
And you gave a long presentation. We're going to leave that like that and not take on the questions to the commissioners tonight. Commissioner Savas?
I just want to clarify for the audience the status of the, I'll call it a deadlock of the contract. It's got an echo there. I believe it was December early December that the board was basically deadlocked. There were 2 commissioners voting in support to move the contract to a business meeting for approval, 2 commissioners that voted against it, and Commissioner Bernard abstained. So for clarification for those in the audience and whatnot, and I think it was reported in the paper as well, we're kind of deadlocked. So we're hoping that we can get towards a solution and get this approved soon.
All right, next is Shirley Sonderberg and Tom O'Connor. What's the echo we got going here? It's quite profound.
Yep.
And followed by, boy, I'm having a tough time with the cursive here. The last name is Davidson, and also Jeanette Kepler on deck. Thank you. Either one of you may start.
Thank you. Excuse me, Chair Ludlow and Commissioners. My name is Shirley Soderberg, and I reside in Oak Grove area of Clackamas County. I am a registered nurse and have been for 50 years. I have worked in all 3 counties in emergency room experience. I have seen both ambulance services come through these emergency rooms. And I think that I'm speaking probably more from emotion than I am from facts. But I can tell you the ambulance service that provided the most quality care of any in our area is AMR. I have seen it in all 3 counties, and without a doubt in my mind that Clackamas County would be selling themselves short if they were to decide to change the ambulance service that we currently have. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Chair Ludlow, Commissioners, my name is Tom O'Connor, and I am a resident of Canby, and I'm here before you today as the chair of the Clackamas County EMS Council. You are, I'm sure, aware that we convened a meeting on December 18th to discuss this issue, and I drafted a letter dated January 7th that hopefully you all had a chance to look over. The role of the role. Hello? Hello? Check. There we go. Okay. As you know, the role of the council is to work for you. It's to advise you. We're all volunteers and we meet monthly. I've served on the council, I believe, for about 7 years now, and I value that role. And I would suggest that if there are any remaining concerns about the ambulance contract, that we'll be happy to do more work for you in that regard. I want to speak a little bit more positively about the process. Amazing amount of work by staff. We've engaged Polaris Group as an outside consulting firm. You had outside experts vet the proposal submitted by the ambulance company. Incredible amount of stakeholder involvement. The EMS Council has engaged multiple times and had more meetings about this than I can remember about any other topic. And of course, the commission has had a few discussions in this regard. Oh, yeah. This process was thoroughly considered. It's been well vetted with an incredible amount of input, and I would say an incredible amount of transparency. Being a leader in the public sector myself, I sometimes realize I'm working so hard that I forget to stop and look up and realize what success looks like. I would say that if a few years ago we talked about a 19% reduction in ambulance rates, if we talked about unprecedented levels of agreement and innovation and collaboration, operationally, training, administratively, amongst the ambulance provider and the fire service agencies, we would have been thrilled to arrive there. It takes a very good existing EMS system, and this contract makes it even better, maybe even great. I would respectfully submit to all the commissioners that after this 2-year process, you have succeeded, and it's time to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, I'm sorry, I can't read the first name, but it's Davidson and Jeanette Kepler. So, and then followed by Christina Santoyo and Rami Danielson. Either one of you, please.
You want to go first? You can go ahead. Okay. Good evening, Commissioners and Chair Ludlow. I am Jenny Davidson, and I live in the Westwood area of Clackamas County. For the past 54 years, I have been active in many areas of this county, served with NAMI, housing and land use issues. I have known one of you since you were a very young girl. I take pride in the fact that I am with Clackamas County. That's why I am here to testify about my concerns with the ambulance contract. Is it off again?
What's with the system tonight?
Is mine on?
Testing. Mine works.
Yours is on?
Oh, yours is on too. But.
Yours is on too, okay. Okay, where was I? All right. All right. AMR takes pride in serving Clackamas County. Not only are they some of the nation's best trained paramedics, but they are part of this community. They are our neighbors, they're our coaches, they're our Sunday school teachers, and they're partners and friends. I am not just talking, I have very personal dealings with their service. They saved my own family members' lives. I took care of my mom until she died, my husband until he died, and his father. All of them which were served by more than one ambulance company, but I'm not through yet. I, for one, can personally testify and truly compare apples to apples. When it comes to ambulance service, my family used another ambulance service from the west side. We came face to face with the reality that not all ambulance companies are the same. I will leave it at that. With that said, please call AMR if I should need an ambulance tonight. I keep hearing the issue of price come up. Let me say this, if it's my family's life on the line, I want quality. There is a reason things are cheap, and it always has to do with quality and service. I have used both ambulance companies from this area and want you to know that price was never an issue. My copay for both was the very same. So in reality, they both cost the same to us as taxpayer voters. So if I can get a 2014 luxury car, you think I'm going to go for a 1974 Pinto? No, give me that 2014 luxury car. I urge you to do the right thing. Approve the RFP of the county, who submitted with pride, abided by all the rules. I heard that there were two other companies who promised to bid on this. One just completely backed out. The other company who was bidding on the right to serve me and the other taxpayers of this county, well, let's get this right. They couldn't even show up on time to do something that they knew about for 6 months. How can I or anybody even trust that they would show up on time for us if our life was at stake, okay? If you somehow try and take this back out to RFP, you make it impossible for AMR to get fair treatment. You have made public their proposal to the public for everyone to see. This is not fair. This is not how we do things in the United States. And remember, this is not Multnomah County.
Good evening, Commissioner and Chair. I'm reading this on behalf of my boss. He was not able to make it tonight.
Could you give us your name and where you come from?
My name is Jeanette Kepler.
Jeanette Kepler, okay.
And this is on behalf of Rex Lindeman, business owner in Wilsonville of Pine Meadow Group. We have 55 employees that depend on local government to provide the best services available, including ambulance service. Personally, I also live in Tualatin. Regarding the importance of competition in the marketplace, I think you have to look no further than the Cover Oregon debacle, a result partly due to a lack of competitive process. The Portland Streetcar Project, another result of the lack of fair and equitable competitive process. In both instances, the taxpayer ends up footing the bill. This is about common sense and logic. Both point to the fact that the rebidding this contract will ensure that the business owner and taxpayer will be getting the best return available on our tax dollars. I appreciate the opportunity to comment on this issue. Rex Lindeman, partner of Pine Meadow Golf in Wilsonville.
All right, thank you. Christina Santoyo and Rami Danielson, followed by Ted Kunzer and Terry Schmidt.
right, I guess ladies first.
Hold
Good
on
evening.
hold on for a second.
Wait one sec.
Okay.
This
I'm
just not
sorry.
quite working tonight. Are we going to have the technician, hold on, are we going to have the technician look at this, I hope? And-
No, they're not here, so.
Well, no, I meant not tonight, but
Oh,
we
yeah.
can't continue how that. Commissioner Savas?
I'm just kind of curious if this was a low, we just got our audio system completely all new, rebuilt and redone. I was kind of wondering if this is a low bid or high bid?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me. Good evening. My name is Christina Santoyo, and I'm a paramedic with AMR. I've been with AMR for 11 years, and I really want to stay here. I live also in Clackamas County, and this is where I raised my family. I'm very concerned that you haven't approved the new contract yet. Not knowing if I will have a job or medical insurance or other benefits in a few months is very stressful. And yes, I have cut back on all my expenses because of this. AMR is a good company, and it treats its employees well. I'm very happy to do my job, and my patients can see that. AMR allows me to take time off from work if my child is sick, and I'm not reprimanded in any way. We are not forced to work extra hours like other guys, but we end up working late. It's a 911 system, but we're properly paid for that. I'm grateful to be able to have a career with AMR, and I would not be happy working anywhere else. My family is the most important thing to me. I want them to grow up in a county that treats businesses fairly. If you don't approve this contract, my family will be in jeopardy since my job might be at stake. You've had a competitive bid and AMR won. I don't understand why all of my tax dollars are being wasted with this delay. I don't understand why. They've done everything you've asked. I live in this county, and I would highly consider moving to another county if somebody else is taking over. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name's Ramey Danielson. I live in Lake Oswego. I'm kind of associated with Meridian Park Hospital. I'm here because the last time we vented this thing for an ambulance company, I didn't think it was done fairly. And I want to be here and say, all I want the five of you to do is find the best ambulance company for me and my family. I don't care which one gets it, and I don't care whose paperwork was late. I mean, some of these big companies can afford to have people that do nothing but paperwork. I don't imagine a local company can afford that. But what I want the five of you to do is pick the best company for me and my family. That's all.
Thank you. And again, I apologize if I misread this. Ted Kunzer and Terry Schmidt, followed by Randy Lauer and Charles Savoy.
Technology. Great.
Would you like to go first, ma'am?
Sure. So I'm Dr. Terry Schmidt. I'm your EMS medical director for the county through a contract with you all, and I also, just so you know, have been a professor at OHSU for many years. And as part of that role, one of the things I really want to say is I've been nationally involved with EMS. I've seen multiple EMS systems, and in the metro area, we have one of the best EMS systems in the country. I have no doubt about that. We have state-of-the-art protocols. We have a well-designed system. And so whatever we end up with, there is no bad in the EMS system here. Up until now, I have actually not been directly involved in this process, although I've followed it very closely, because I am only here to talk about the medical issues related to the contract. That's my only role, is to support patient care and medical issues, and the political process has not been mine. My concern at this point is that it's late in the process, and very frankly, you're running out of time. And for example, as I think about, on May 1st, could we implement a new system? I can tell you that right now, I expect it to take about 60 days for a new person who comes into the county to have the skills and things it would take for me to let them work independently. And so all I want to say tonight is the time is running out and that this is a little late.
Good evening, Chair Ludlow, members of the commission. My name is Ted Coons.
and I'm the Fire Chief and Chief Executive Officer of the Canby Fire District. I'm here tonight representing my Board of Directors, just for the record, Canby Fire District has been an ambulance provider in Clackamas County for 65 years. This year is our 65th anniversary of doing that. I need to say also, there's 3 providers in Clackamas County. There's AMR, the county provider, and then there's Canby Fire District and Molalla Fire District. All 3 agencies have an extremely good cooperative mutual aid system. It's very aggressive. Of course, AMR is the larger partner in the deal, and I will tell you that on several occasions, it doesn't seem like we can have one call at a time in Canby. We end up with 3 or 4 going, and the only way we can effectively do that is by AMR having the staff and the ability to come down and help us out. We reviewed the contract. We've looked at all the public documents, and as far as we're concerned, we have found nothing that we find to be inappropriate. And so tonight, I'd like to go on the record on behalf of my Board of Directors and say that the Canby Fire District is supporting the Board of County Commissioners approving a new contract and doing so as soon as possible in order to avoid a lapse in service in the Clackamas ASA. Thank you.
I'd like to announce that there will be no lapse in service, subject to AMR negotiating for an extension of the contract. It's been told to the commissioners rather regularly that any ambulance company, including AMR, would need about 6 months to gear up for a new contract with the requirements and RFP that they agreed to. So it seems prudent on our part to start negotiations, which we've attempted with AMR, to make sure that there will be no overlap in service. So nobody will be missed on this. Commissioner Savas.
Chair, I'm just trying to understand what you just said. You're making the presumption that we're not going to approve the contract?
Again, we've been told on a regular basis it would take 6 months for anybody to gear up, and that includes AMR from this point on. We don't have 6 months before the expiration of our existing contract. Therefore, our staff has entered in or attempted to enter into negotiations with AMR for an extension of a 1-year extension of the existing contract. That's what I said. So, yes. Thank you very much. And next, Mr. Randy Lauer and Mr. Charles Savoy.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and fellow commissioners. I'm Randy Lauer, General Manager, American Medical Response. Thank you for the opportunity tonight to speak to AMR's service record and our mission to safeguard the lives and well-being of Clackamas County's more than 350,000 residents. AMR has served Clackamas County for 50 years, and we remain dedicated to providing the highest quality emergency ambulance service. We're deeply passionate about what we do, and we take seriously our role in the community. We know Clackamas County inside and out and have built close working partnerships with the county's fire departments, law enforcement, hospitals, nonprofits, and others to create a top-notch emergency services system. The new contract you have before you is a result of more than 2 years of hard work following the previous board's decision and your reaffirmation to put the contract out to bid. The county and AMR have invested a great deal of time and scarce financial resources to prepare and respond to the RFP. All of that money, including the hundreds of thousands of dollars expended by the county, will have been well spent when you approve this contract and conclude the competitive bidding process you proscribed. AMR's proposal was submitted on time, deemed qualified and responsive to the RFP, and it was the winning bid. You confirmed that when you voted to issue a notice of intent to award to AMR and directed staff to negotiate a new contract. AMR spent many hours with your staff to reach agreement on the new contract. You have spent considerable time reviewing the contract in much detail over, I believe, 7 study sessions. All of the EMS stakeholders have recommended approval of the contract. The EMS Council, which is established by county code and appointed by you to advise the board on all matters related to emergency medical services, is unanimous in their recommendation to approve the contract. The 11-member EMS Council represents our cities, fire departments, hospitals, 911 centers, the county, and consumers of ambulance services. Their recommendation and advice should be taken serious. The contract before you maintains high-quality service and includes partnerships with the 3 largest fire departments. The new contract builds a solid foundation to effectively address healthcare transformation and provides for the most integrated EMS system the county has ever had for a price that is 19% below what it is today. You've achieved all of the goals set out when the RFP process was begun. You are making a decision whether you approve, reject, or decide not to act on the new contract. In transparent government, which I hope you all subscribe to, and I believe you do, our elected leaders explain their decisions to the public. If you do not approve the contract, please explain what you'd like to change and direct staff to negotiate the changes. AMR has worked with the county in good faith throughout this whole process, and we'll continue to work with you to resolve any concerns. I have other comments, but I've used up my time, so I'll stop and just say thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Name's Charles Savoy, reside in Oak Grove. I am the shop steward for one of the shop stewards, Teamsters Local 2 through 3, representing the AMR employees. I prepared a different speech, but after listening to a couple of the comments from other persons, I've changed it. So I'd like to address this issue about whether or not this was a competitive bid. Some persons in the public may be misinformed about this, but I'm certain that every person sitting in front of me right now has been thoroughly informed by county council that in fact this was a competitive bid. It rises and meets all of the requirements of a competitive bid, and the proof of that goes beyond the legal requirement, but the fact that AMR's bid was substantially lower than the current price for fees for ambulance services in this county. They would not have done that if they were not competing. So this whole issue that keeps coming up about whether or not this was a competitive bid is smoke and mirrors, and the commissioners need to acknowledge that publicly tonight. Now that I've gotten that off of my chest, sorry, the employees I represent have had their lives put on hold for more than 2 years now, waiting through this process. Our company has worked hard to win this bid. The employees made a 2% concession in their wages to enable the company to lower their bid price. We don't do these things lightly. We were competing, and it has cost us money already, in spite of what some of the commissioners are misinformed about. We already have lost that 2%. We have an agreement with the company, and we will honor that agreement. This board needs to put the cards on the table. The board has complained about suspicions, rumors, and innuendos that have been thrown around. The surest way to put all of that to rest is for every one of the commissioners sitting in front of me tonight to tell us why they are not voting to move forward on this contract now. Cindy Becker has made it clear that all of the questions that have been asked have been answered. What is left? Vote, and vote to approve the contract. Thank you.
Next up, Allie, I don't know, Sane, S-A-Y-N-E, and Les Poole. Followed by Don Porth and Markley Drake.
Hi there, my name's Allie Sayre. I also am a shop steward representing my coworkers at AMR, working in Clackamas County. As a community member, I'm concerned about the delays with signing the new contract with AMR. The new contract has many benefits for residents, such as lower rates, better response times, partnerships with local agencies, and increased resources. Delaying the contract and extending the current contract will delay the people of Clackamas County from receiving these benefits. If you delay it by a year, all this new innovative stuff that we have going on is not going to get put into place for another year. The medical field is an ever-changing profession. The new contract allows for new innovative medicine to be practiced in the county. Sudden cardiac arrest, for example, is the #1 killer of Americans. Having high-quality CPR performed on a patient in sudden cardiac arrest in the quickest time possible dramatically increases the patient's chance of survival. AMR in Clackamas has proven to be a leader in increasing survival of sudden cardiac arrest patients, doubling the survival rate in Clackamas County in only 5 years' time. The provisions of the new contract will help the number increase even further, putting Clackamas County on the map with one of the highest survival rates in the entire country. And this is only one way that AMR excels at providing quality care to the citizens of Clackamas County. People who work in EMS work long hours, face difficult situations, and deal with tragedy on a daily basis. Delaying this contract creates uncertainty for the workers at AMR because they do not know whether or not they will have a job in a few months. This has caused employees to cut back on normal activities and spending in order to save for a potential unemployment period. Working at AMR provides a good family wage job with the best possible protections and wages in the EMS industry. That's right. We have some of the best wages and benefits in the entire country. Working at AMR employees are excellent neighbors and responsive community members. This uncertainty has delayed many activities that help relieve the stress experienced on the job. Time away from work is vital to decompressing from the tragic things that EMS workers see, and with limited resources, it just isn't possible. We need our EMS workers to be ready 100% of the time to help the people of Clackamas County. Not one person on this commission has done anything but praise the workers of AMR for their superb service and professionalism. So why not prove that today and approve the contract? Is there any reason why you won't do it?
Thank you. Mr. Poole.
Thank you. Just so everyone understands Metro, the Metro I spoke about earlier is not the Metro that we're hearing about. Metro that we're referring to with ambulance service is Metro West Ambulance, and they, to the best of my knowledge, they currently serve Washington County. I think AMR services Portland. Certainly they've been taking care of Clackamas County for a very long time. I've had a personal experience that I shared last year when this issue was before us, and the interaction between the county emergency personnel and AMR was incredible. When you've got someone dying before you and you see the ambulance arrive almost immediately after the county gets there, you don't see this big lapse. And when they walk in, they know each other. They've worked together for so long. And as someone that spent many years in logistics and material handling, the complexities of making a change go far beyond the cost or a few months' time. It's painfully obvious to me that most of the citizens are extremely happy with AMR. I would also say that last year when this issue was on the agenda, I remember hearing from a number of AMR employees that used to work for Metro West and transferred and are glad they did. That doesn't mean Metro West does a bad job. I'm not here to critique them. I'm sure they're a fine company. But again, from what I've seen of AMR, it really has been top-notched. Some of you also, many of you remember last year in the contentious trolley trail deliberations, I was at this microphone trying to defend our park, which is currently being destroyed by our good friends at TriMet with light rail. And one of our most cherished senior citizens right here suddenly for lack of a better description, passed out. You all saw that when AMR arrived, not only did she know them, which was so comforting for her, but they did a wonderful job of taking care of her. And if I gave you her name over the air, I'd probably get a phone call and get in trouble, so we won't go there.
Don't sick
I don't
her
want
up.
the person in charge to have me removed.
Oh, yeah, oh, great line.
We really have a lot of issues here, and I understand that this is a very large contract, very large indeed. There's some political capital that comes with it, and I don't think you have to recuse yourselves because you've had contributions before. I think back years ago, and I'll wrap up here, but I think back years ago when Metro West wanted the contract and they contributed, I believe, $20,000 to Mr. Bernard's campaign against Mr. Kennemer for county commissioner. If I were in Mr. Bernard's shoes or anyone else, I'd probably be leaning towards Metro, and I understand that. But the reality is this process needs to come to an end, and I think it's time to, as they say, wrap it up. Thank you much.
Thank you for wrapping it up. Don Porth and Mark Lee Drake, followed by Eric Durano and Craig Longbridge.
Good evening. My name is Don Porth, and I currently reside in Damascus in Clackamas County. I've lived in Clackamas County for almost 30 years over the course of my life. I'm a retired firefighter who specialized in community education and outreach. Now I work as a private business contractor providing fire and life safety, education services, and consulting from my Damascus home. Now, as a firefighter, I had the pleasure of working with AMR in an emergency response capacity and found their services to be prompt, professional, and everything you'd expect from an emergency services provider. But most of my career, however, was spent in community education and outreach. And in this capacity, I was very closely allied with the education and outreach services provided by AMR. It's because of that working relationship that I feel compelled to speak on behalf of AMR here tonight. And many organizations in this field of work provide good prevention services. Yet budget fluctuations, staffing challenges, and other issues combine to impact and diminish these different services. And this is incredibly harmful to the networking and community connections necessary to be effective in reaching out to the community. In all my years of partnering with AMR, their dedication to this most important of services has been rock solid. Because of this, they enjoy a significant leadership role in the injury prevention efforts across the metro area and especially in Clackamas County. This includes youth programs, senior citizens, and other at-risk members of the community. A community where unintentional injury is the #1 cause of death among citizens aged 0 to 44, and a significant number above that from 44 up. And when I say unintentional injury, I mean those injuries that are preventable, that do not need to occur. As I experience with the fire service, great emphasis is often placed on the emergency response side of the business. It might be easy to fall prey to this as you consider ambulance services in Clackamas County as well. However, prevention, education, and outreach are truly the foundation of the best service as an emergency response provider can give. Any organization that sits back and waits for your citizens to have a personal tragedy before taking action is not an organization I want serving me as a citizen of Clackamas County. I prefer to be served by agencies who are as committed to my safety and well-being as they are to intervening when tragedy does occur. I hope you feel the same way. So as you consider this most important aspect of service delivery in your decision on this contract, please understand the commitment that AMR has made in the past and continues to make today regarding community education, outreach, and the prevention of injury to the members of your community. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the board, my name is Mark Lee Drake. I'm president of the City Council for the City of Happy Valley, and I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the city. To clarify our position, we are neutral in this process and have been. We have promoted and want to promote this board to have a process that leads to quality patient care at the lowest price possible for the residents of this county and the residents of our city. That's what we believe our residents deserve. So whatever process this board decides will give us quality care at the lowest price is what we support and will continue to support. See, I'm an elected official and brief.
I can't even believe it, Mark.
I know. So just one other comment.
Sure, go ahead.
I know both these providers real well, and I believe that they provide quality patient care, both AMR and Metro West. And I believe both of these organizations will serve this county, if one is chosen over the other, in a very, very well. I think they're both good people. I know Randy Lauer and J.D. Featon personally. They're both good people, and I respect both those gentlemen. And just one other comment, if I can, speaking not as on behalf of the city of Happy Valley at this point. In an earlier meeting, Commissioner Smith raised some issues about the over-triage, the multiple responsive units. I would urge this board to give that careful consideration. The cost of over-triage adds cost into the system. And by addressing that issue, you can lower the cost of the system, lower the cost to the users. So I'd urge you to at least consider that. Thank you.
Thank you, Markley. And then comes Eric Durano and Craig, I think it's Longbridge, but I apologize if it's not.
Yes, Mr. Craig is from my backyard. How do you do, sir?
Either one of you can begin. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Eric Durano, and I'm 18 years old, and I'm currently a senior at Tigard High School, and I'm here in support for AMR. And based on my personal experience, I think that AMR would be the best provider for Clackamas County for you guys in the future. Because on August 22nd, 2009, I actually experienced one of the biggest tragedies of my life, which was during the summer of going into my 8th grade year. I suffered a near-drowning experience over at High Rocks Park on the Clackamas River. And I was underwater for actually like 5 minutes, according to the people who were there. And if it weren't for 2 of AMR's paramedics, or AMR's lifeguards, I would have drowned and lost my life. But through their actions and through their quick thinking, one diver actually dove down 3 times in murky water and risked his own life wearing a life vest himself. So imagine going down in a heavy rush of water, heavy stream, and looking for like a 100-pound little Asian boy in the bottom of a river, and just imagine doing that, risking your life 3 times. And that's what he did. And not only does that show his courage, he also showed his care for his patient outside of the event. He came after he helped me. He came and visited me during my wrestling meets. During just random times, he'd hit me up and call me and write letters to me and say, how are you doing, you know? And that really shows the care that AMR puts into their customers or their patients. And it's just the amount of support that they've given me is unparalleled, and I don't know if anyone else can compete with that. And even after the accident, the whole station even gave up their entire station to allow for my giant family to come and celebrate with them for the miracle that they gave me. It's like a second chance in my life, you know? So I'm here today to provide full support for those that saved my life, because if it weren't for them, I would have just been another statistic. I would have never been able to experience the amazing things that everyone, you know, experienced during their high school years. Would have never had my first girlfriend, seeing my nephew grow up, homecoming, prom, running track, playing basketball and wrestling, and all these things, you know, I would have taken for granted if it weren't for this second chance that they gave me. And AMR's efforts in saving my life has allowed me to not only live another day, but given me a new perspective on life in general. And I spend less time worrying about the little things and more time actually enjoying the present. But I am just one person, and according to portlandoregon.gov, AMR responds to 60,000 to 65,000 calls, transporting 50,000 patients every year, and providing 2,716 hours on the road each week. Imagine how many lives similar to mine these hardworking individuals have positively affected. So I urge all of you to consider what I said and keep AMR. Their services are unlike any other, and their people are the exact same. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Yes, sir. That's a tough act to follow, isn't it?
Hi, Chairman Ludlow and fellow commissioners. My name is Craig Lockridge. I am speaking on behalf of myself, but I am also a member of the Emergency Medical Services Council since 2008. I don't know that there's much I can add to any of what's been said tonight. My role on the council is as a representative of consumers of ambulance services, and I consider myself to be impartial. I have no great interest or connection to any of the fire or EMS agencies who work within our county. And I just have to say, pretty much I think Dr. Schmidt earlier said, you know, the way I feel, and that is that I'm just concerned about keeping the ambulances rolling and making sure that the patients in Clackamas County continue to get the best care that they can possibly get. I have no great love or disdain for either of the two people who have been spoken for here tonight, or any of the other ambulance services in Clackamas County or around the Willamette Valley. You know, I just hope that you'll be careful in making sure that there's not any kind of an interruption in service. And I also have to say, though, that as part of the EMS Council, I have felt like the process that was gone through initially was kind of contrary to the desires of the council. That is, that they felt like there should have been more time and care taken in the RFP, or before they, in deciding how to go through the RFP process. But once the county staff and commissioners got to that point, that it was very reasoned, careful, impartial, and that it was a really good process. And so if what it takes is to make sure absolutely that, you know, there's no delay or interruption in services, is to approve AMR, then I would recommend that that's what be done.
Thank you, sir. And now we'll go to the consent agenda. I'll ask the clerk to read the consent agenda by title.
Well, Chair, maybe we could just have a little bit of comment. I know that we've heard quite a bit, and I just want to just express my thanks to all the people that came out here and spoke tonight. I think Eric's presentation was very refreshing. Welcome back. You know, sometimes we get criticized because we cannot make a decision in a certain period of time, and some of us ask for more information than others, and I think I'm one of those people that wants to have the information. I don't, as I understand it, and maybe I'm asking a little bit of clarification from staff, as I understand it, if we had a bid that was, let's say, 1%, if two bids were submitted and they were 1 or 2% different in price, that price was not the only factor, and price would have not been everything would have been weighed on. It was actually weighted, and weighted means that percentage of scoring was based on how the factors in the RFP were met. And this board went through, prior to submitting the RFP for bid, went through and adjusted a few of those, and we put more emphasis on the price, went from 20% weighting, I believe, to 25% weighting. And, you know, I think quality service is a big deal. And I have been patient through this. I was willing to work with the board, the previous board, in renewing the contract. I think there was a lot of emphasis and pressure to do that. Commissioner Bernard felt that we could get a better price, felt that we should put it out for bid, and he pushed very hard, and here we are. And a lot of the requests, the evergreen elements, all the requests that Commissioner Bernard advocated for, I believe we got there. So what went out for a bid was really what the previous board wanted, with a little modification of what this board wanted, and we achieved that. I think the most seamless transition would really be to approve this contract and do whatever paperwork we need to do to get this thing, you know, put to bed and move on. and, what I said here, I think last month was, and speaking to the price a little bit, that, when someone's in crisis, and they're uninsured, and they're rescued and an ambulance comes and gets them, they're gonna get a bill sooner or later in the mail. And if they can need to pay the full cost for that bill, it's currently over $1,000. And by virtue of the good work that we've done, our staff's done, the board's done, in trying to get a better cost and better innovation, preparing for all of the medical transitions we have as far as service and pricing and delivery and all that, we knew we had to be better prepared, and that's another benefit of putting this out to bid. But we got a $233 reduction in the cost. And as of every day that we don't have this contract implemented, every day that goes by, those people are paying $233 more than they should have, or could have, could. So we have an opportunity to actually cut a cost for those people who can least afford it in one of the most critical, important, difficult times of their lives. And I really believe it's the right thing to do at this point in time, and I will hopefully advocate on Tuesday when we have our work session that we again put this on the agenda for approval as soon as possible.
Commissioner Bernard.
Well, I'd also like to see this resolved soon, but a couple of comments tonight that I think are important to address. One is that a suggestion that we have been negotiating with anybody other than AMR. We have not seen any other proposal. We have not considered any other proposal. We have not negotiated any other proposal at all. And then as far as donations, I have actually got donations from AMR and from Metro in the past. And if you'd like to look, in case you don't know how to do this, if you'd like to look at what contributions are made to a campaign, you go to the Oregon Secretary of State's page, click on ORSTAR, go to name of committee or name of candidate, hit name of candidate, put my name in, Jim Bernard. There are over 200 contributions so far, and you won't see one from either AMR or Metro Ambulance. So feel free to look at that daily if you like. It's readily available. You can even you can export it to an Excel spreadsheet so you can study it hour after hour, day after day, and you'll see that. You probably also look at John and Tootie's.
Please.
And probably Martha's. I'm not sure. I haven't really looked at Martha's. And Paul's, and see the same thing. So no, we're not deciding this on who contributes, and I sure hope that nobody ever sells their votes, just because of a high bidder in a campaign contribution. That does not happen. My concern and why I did not vote that night, because I received a threatening email from one of the ambulance providers, and I felt that I could not reasonably vote that night on that, the motion made. So I have not been satisfied that the threat, which the newspaper has, and they're welcome to have it, and matter of fact, I'd be happy to give it to any one of you who ask. It is of concern to me when anybody threatens anybody, and this did occur. I did speak to the gentleman who sent out the email. He did apologize, finally, after almost 2 years. Actually, it's probably a year. I don't want to exaggerate. But, I don't have a complaint about AMR. I think we're very close to a resolution on this, and I'd like to see it resolved as soon as possible also. So I appreciate the comments made tonight. And the gentleman from Tiger, didn't your parents tell you not to go to High Rocks? Mine certainly did, and I had brothers who went to High Rocks anyway. And but thanks to AMR, they are providing that service there and have saved lives. So I appreciate that. It's an important service, and it is actually, I believe, part of the contract. So hope to resolve this soon. But again, Oregon Secretary of State, or STAR, Jim Bernard, and look me up. Thank you.
Commissioner Schrader.
I'd also like to get this resolved soon, but we have agreed not to vote this evening. I think it's somewhat of a compromise because I know I felt, and I want to thank my colleagues, that it was very important to have a community public discussion and hearing, and I think the purpose of me and asking to make this happen was, I think it's an important part of the process, and I just want to thank all of my colleagues here, Commissioner Bernard, Commissioner Smith, Chair Ludlow, and Commissioner Savas. I do think that we should move ahead with this contract. I've been pretty solid with that, but I really have appreciated my colleagues allowing this to be a discussion. And as usual, I will be very honest in saying I think that Chair Ludlow, you've run a very good meeting. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Martha.
Yep. And all will be well, sooner than later.
We always depend on you for that. Again, you're correct. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you spending your valuable time here tonight, instructing us, admonishing us, or otherwise commenting. We will take this up in a study session next Tuesday. I'm not sure the time. It's an afternoon session, at which time we hope to come to some kind of a resolution. Now, will the clerk please do the consent agenda?
Testing. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I
Hello?
thought turning that might have turned it off. Sorry about the difficulties. Okay, the consent agenda. Under Health, Housing, and Human Services.
Be as quiet as you can when you're exiting, please. Thank you.
Under Health, Housing, and Human Services, approval of amendment number 1 to the intergovernmental agreement with the Workforce Investment Council of Clackamas County for specialized workforce services. Under Elected Officials, approval of previous business meeting minutes. And under the Development Agency, approval of a contract with Harper Huff Peterson Regelis, Inc. for consulting services for engineering design and construction plans for the Sunnyside Road, Stevens Road intersection improvement project. And that is the end. There's only 3.
That's a short one, Mary, I'll say that. All right, any commissioner want to remove or pull any items from the consent agenda? I'll ask for a motion to approve.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion been made by Commissioner Schrader, seconded by Commissioner Bernard to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? I'll ask the clerk to call the poll.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith? Aye. Commissioner Bernard?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Chair Ludlow?
Aye, passes 5-0. County Administrator update, Mr. Krupp.
Well, yes, I do have several items for you, a couple of good news items for you. The first is that our Public Health Department has announced its 2014 Healthy Eating Active Living mini-grant recipients. Now, Healthy Eating Active Living stands for HEAL. And these HEAL grants are provided to local organizations that serve Clackamas County residents and provide programs that prevent chronic disease and encourage healthy eating and an active lifestyle. This year, we have awarded these grants to some 10 local community organizations, receiving a total of about $73,000 in the community to do good work and help keep people healthy. The second really good news I'd like to share with you is that the Buehrig Fire District, with the support of Clackamas County, has received a $453,000 federal grant to boost their firefighting and medical emergency readiness. And this is a grant from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. It will allow them to hire additional firefighters for a period of 2 years. We're happy to be a part of helping them make that a reality. And then finally, last week, I mentioned that Interstate 205 was going to have a closure. They got pushed back because of the weather. Oh. So actually, we are expecting that this coming weekend, the northbound lanes of Interstate 205 will be closed at 82nd and traffic will be diverted off the freeway at that point and then diverted back on the freeway off of Sunnyside from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday evenings from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. Just want to make sure folks are aware of that. Then the following week, it'll be the southbound lanes that are affected similarly over the three-day weekend.
All week or all weekend?
All weekend, so.
Weekend, okay.
Good, and that's it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Krupp. And we'll go to Commissioner Communication, Commissioner Savas.
Thank you, Chair. I didn't have a chance to, is Spike working?
I don't know, they're kind of wimpy.
There it goes. I think it's, no? Not yet.
Test.
There it goes. Yes, yes. Last week, we had a lot, a few weeks of being off, or a couple weeks of being off. Didn't have a chance to talk about everything we want to talk about. I do want to thank my commissioners for one of the, I guess to me, one of the funner, productive things that we did last year. And that was early in the year, we decided to consider going to zones. So what if the county was divided by districts, so we basically charted out the county in 5 equally populated zones, and so we are all assigned an area, and we determined to go to 6 months serving that particular zone. I served Zone 3 between June and December of last year, which was comprised of basically Happy Valley, the east side of Oregon City, and the rural areas. And as we do the rotation, I'll be serving, or are now serving, the areas of Canby, Wilsonville, and Oregon City. So those of you that are watching at home, each of us serve a particular area now, and I believe we discussed this a couple of weeks ago when Commissioner Schrader was absent, but I haven't talked to her, but I'm assuming that she's going to support this program, and if so, we'll all be involved, and I look forward to serving those areas and hearing from you. Anyone else in any other area, I can still take your input, as well as any of us can take any issue you have regardless where you live. But it's an area we'll be just concentrating our time and kind of learning more about the community, and an opportunity to kind of get connected into things we may not learn otherwise. So I'm excited by that. Our Commissioner Roundtable is, I believe, February 7th. February 5th, which is the first Wednesday at 5:30 in the Development Services Building, which is the building just north of here. And anyone can bring any issue that's on their mind to those in attendance, and we'll try to respond to any concerns or issues that you raise. So that's appreciated, and by all means, use that opportunity. Some folks don't like to come up and speak in front of the camera or in front of the board, and sometimes that is intimidating, and this is far more informal and just a little bit easier, and we just sit face to face around a couple tables and chat. So you're welcome to do that.
Thank you. Commissioner Smith.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. Last Thursday, I unfortunately missed the business meeting. I attended a funeral that was of a very, very close friend's mother, and it was a Catholic Mass, and then a graveside burial. Then you go back and you have food and talk, and so it was one of those really long, exhausting days. I understand we had testimony. I was been fully briefed on what happened last week, but I couldn't attend, and I apologize for that. Association Oregon Counties has taken a firm step to oppose any legislation to legalize adult recreational marijuana use, and I wholeheartedly agree with that position. Just letting you folks know little issues going on out there. There's probably going to be some initiatives and signature gathering to put it on the ballot, and I'm not sure when that would happen, so just wanted to let you know that. Clackamas County is seeking volunteers for the advisory boards and commissions. We have a lot of them coming up. And just because you haven't served on a board or a commission, don't let that stop you, especially if you're maybe newly retired and you find yourself with some extra time and you want to get involved in something. Those are the type of people who we sometimes think are the most valuable, people who have just come out of the workforce and have a lot of experience and ideas, and we hope you can apply for that. This board is sending a letter to our federal delegation on behalf of the Aurora Airport situation. The state legislature approved money to build a tower However, by law, the federal government must provide the staff to work in that in the form of the FAA, and the Congress has not put an appropriation into staff our tower. And we think that's very important to the economic well-being, safety of not only the airplanes and the people who fly in them, but the neighboring community all around. It's really a big deal. Getting back to all the testimony that we heard tonight about recusing ourselves from voting, you know, if I was to take that in the literal sense of the word, I would probably recuse myself from everything, and maybe this entire board should recuse itself from voting if every time that we encounter a very difficult decision where we have studied, it tends to be controversial. One side gets people heated up and gets them emotional. People come in, they react on emotions. Maybe we should have a whole nother process where we don't even have ambulance companies bid it. Maybe we should do something totally different. Throw it back to the fire departments. Let them do it. Let the fire department staff the ambulance service. There's less fires to be put out now because of technology and early response times, and fire departments have become extremely efficient. So if we did that, we wouldn't have to worry about impropriety or somebody thinking that we're taking money under the table or here or there. And it's very disconcerting to me, and it's troubling that some people, you know, you folks have been my supporters in the past, and for you to come forward and accuse us of these things, you know, it hurts. We work really, really hard, and some of these accusations, believe me, do not go unnoticed. I know you people vote, but I tell you, this board, time and time again, we are accused of, I voted for you and I'm going to take you out. Well, you know, folks, you must not know me very well. I'm a fourth-generation farmer. I was the oldest, grew up on the farm, and I was Dad's boy. And I don't take too kindly to threats of any kind. In fact, most people would say you just don't want to go down that road with Tootie because it will never work, ever work. So I suggest for the future, if you have real issues, try to present them in an intelligent and thoughtful manner and not go to the very end of what tends to be an almost violent reaction to what we're trying to do here. And what we're trying to do is to get the best deal for Clackamas County with the new upcoming and changes that's happening out there in ambulance system and firefighting. And it's a hard decision to make. So that's all I've got to say, and thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you. Commissioner Bernard.
Well, first I'd like to welcome Martha back. I know it was tough for you to
That's Her
be
Majesty, by the way.
So welcome back, and the baby's beautiful. I went to the boat show this weekend, and it just happened that I walk around the corner, the Clackamas County Sheriff's boat. New boat is there. I don't know if they've even used it yet, but Steve Thurman, who will be riding that boat along with other folks, worked really hard to get a really good deal. He was telling me today, I just happened to run into him at the assessor's office. And he was telling me that he got a significant amount of the money from the Marine Board, a large portion. He was able to get he was telling me what motor he got and whatever pump thing, and that he would save a lot in fuel. It's a diesel jet is what it is. And I've had an opportunity to ride with him, and you must go for a ride with him.
In the new boat?
In the new boat.
I'm jealous.
And he says it's heated. So, and I even bought a boat.
Oh, my God.
Yes, I did. Nothing like the sheriff's, I can assure you that. But one of the things I've always been interested, my grandfather was the best fisherman on the Willamette River. Oh, I thought you guys were going to argue with me.
No, I mean, I agree.
Anyway, he was a very good fisherman, and I'm sorry that I didn't have more time when I was really young. I fished quite a bit on the Willamette in Newport and in Garibaldi. It's something I've always wanted to do, and I'm approaching, I don't know if I should tell you, but my 60th birthday. And for my birthday present, my wife is assisting me in the purchase of this boat.
It's a nice way to put it.
But anyway, I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the work the sheriff does on the Clackamas River and the Willamette River and many other rivers. And one of the things we're talking about, one of the things I'm interested in is fishing. And one of the problems we have and somehow need to address, and I don't know how we address that, is the sea lion population at the mouth of at the waterfalls, and the fact that they're killing a lot of the fish that are trying to go up the ladders. And there is some danger it's kind of funny, you think these are just animals, but when anyone stands up in a boat, all the seals rush out because they know something's happening. So they should play musical chairs, keep jumping up and down. This weekend I'm going to the OFA conference. That's the Oregon Fair Association conference. I've been the liaison to the county fair since I got here because Bill Kennemer said somebody needs to take care of those folks. And so I love these guys, and I have gone to every conference since I've been there. That's 5 years. And these are great people who have a lot of challenges ahead. A large facility that has a lot of deferred maintenance. And, I hope that we can work and get a support of the community. Consider I guess there's a possibility of a 0.001 tax thing that they could put and collect millions of dollars over time. So that's something I hope we'll be talking about. Gary knows much more about it. But, right now they're getting 60 cents a foot revenue out of the county fair. That's not very good. So we need to help them find a way to make more revenue, and some of that may require an investment that I look forward to talking about. Since I've been here, I've served as the liaison to the Sheriff's Department, and public safety has been one of my things that I've been very interested in. I serve on the AOC Public Safety. I'm the co-chair of the Public Safety Committee, in which we voted on the marijuana issue. Yep. Also serve on the board of AOC and the legislative committee of AOC, and also on the National Association of County Public Safety Committee, and was recently appointed to the Justice Reinvestment Grant Committee. The reason I say this is because we received some grant money to help reduce the people we send to prison, and that's through community corrections and the great work that the DA does. But, and this is an experiment for 2 years, and we're already failing. Prison population has grown. And if we don't fix this, we don't figure out how to solve this, that money's going to go away, and they're going to have to build more prisons, and that's not something we want to do. It's too expensive. So I look forward to that conversation. Next week, the weekend after next, I go to a public safety meeting in Gold Beach, Oregon. I think that is in Oregon, isn't it, right? Yeah, Gold Beach, Oregon. It's way south, about 5 hours away.
You got a big jet boat there, Jim. You want to check that out?
I'll have to try that. Anyway, I look forward to that. But, we've been, the sheriff does a great job. We're losing one of our folks. Dave, his name just went bad. Dave Kirby's leaving. Dave Kirby's an undersheriff. He's done a great job, and I'd like to thank Dave Kirby for the hard work he's done and the great service he's provided to Clackamas County, and I just want to say we'll miss him. So that concludes my comments tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And Commissioner Schrader.
Well, I also missed the business meeting last week, so I was elected vice chair. which just goes to show, make sure you show up or you find surprises when you get back. Again, I want to thank my colleagues. I used to think it was difficult when I was a young woman with children, how I would balance work and kids. And I'm finding that as a grandmother, it's just as difficult. However, the good news is with modern technology, it has become somewhat easier to maintain a connection to the county even from far away. And I want to thank my Trent Wilson, who is my policy advisor and assistant, for keeping me pretty much apprised of everything that was going on here in the county pretty regularly and briefing me on what was happening and going on. And I knew that we had a legislative agenda, for example, that we had approved. I knew what was going on with the business meetings. We did attempt with our technology to do Wi-Fi in an area of the Alps, which didn't work as well. But we actually were on for a while, and I could continue that conversation. And it gave me an opportunity to actually also not only spend time with baby Jasper, who is really growing and beginning to stand up and chatter and talk and all kinds of things that, I'm missing some of it, but not all of it. But it also gave me some time to do some serious reading about strategic planning, which is an interest of mine, and so hopefully you'll bring some of the academic interest with that. Having come back here, I did hit the ground running. I did attend the WICO Workforce Investment Council Clackamas County meeting this morning. The director, Kim Parker, who is a wonderful woman, has now taken a job with the State Employment Department. I haven't had a chance to completely brief my colleagues yet. There's been talk of our region of workforce merging with Multnomah and Washington County, and I was very adamant. Commissioners, I'll let you know now that that is a very bad idea. And I don't think I said over my cold dead body, but I kind of came close to it. And made it clear to the new interim director, as well as hopefully the governor's folks, that that is not, we're not going to get penalized for our success in our workforce arena, and that will not be a good policy decision. And commissioners, I suspect you're all going to hopefully support me with that. Also, I am going to be having an opportunity as I move into my new zone to be meeting with Mayor Lori DeReamer. They're going to put me on the hot spot on their radio program, and where I just thought we'd be talking about a few kind of easy questions. No, the mayor, who is one of my dear friends, managed to send me a whole set of 10 questions in 10 minutes, and none of them are simple. And my public and government relations folks were like, "You really want to do this?" And I go, "Yep. We're just going to go head-to-head in fisticuffs. That's the way we'll do it in Happy Valley." And no worries with that. I know that the last thing I'd like to talk about is the initiative that we've had with the Family Justice Center, our work with the Children's Center, which deals with children who have been abused sexually, which is kind of a tough topic. The Family Justice Center, which is going to be dealing with domestic violence issues. I've also become involved with the Board of Family Stepping Stones, which is our relief nursery here in Clackamas County. I had a meeting with the executive director the other day, and I do think that this nonprofit is going to really hopefully complete the triad of care that we give to children. Relief nurseries are essential. Again, having just been with a baby and being much older and, dealing with everything you deal with a baby, I think they're very necessary for people to get appropriate parenting skills, because we oftentimes take for granted what it takes to be a good grandmother, good parent, whatever, the cuddling, the hugging, the talking, the cooing, everything that we do naturally. What is astounding is that some people need some help with how to do that, because maybe they haven't had that growing up. And this particular program is, I hope, going to become one of our nonprofits working in tandem with the other good folks we work with. So with that, I want to thank my constituents and our citizens for tolerating the fact that we're now using technology so I can get to some of these meetings. And I want to thank my colleagues for their patience and assure everyone that doesn't matter where I am, what part of the world or what corner, I'm always doing the reading, I'm always doing the work, and I always miss Clackamas County, and I'm glad to be back. Plus, I brought some really nice presents for all of you, too.
She's always with a crying baby somewhere.
Well, there
I'll
you
tell
go.
you that.
And at home, too.
I'll be much more succinct. Ladies and gentlemen, it was with great pride that I have for this commission and their stance on the Columbia River crossing. It was a 5-0 decision on the resolution we passed, calling for the 5.8-mile stretch from Oregon City to Stafford to be fixed before they do the CRC. This is a giant sinkhole of money that now has even more opposition, but one of the most dangerous times, I think it was a poet or a humorist said, one of the most dangerous times is when Congress is in session. It's no different in Salem. You never know how that's going to turn out down there, but we have been resolute. We've got buy-in from the Clackamas County Business Association. We've also got buy-in from the Board of Directors of the Association of Oregon Counties. Had a great presentation by our Strategic Policy Administrator, Dan Chandler, this last Monday, of which Commissioner Bernard and Savas were there, and the ladies were absent. But had some really great discussion about that, and the legislators are finally getting it. We have a huge problem here, and when we see 30 to 50,000 trips from I-5 diverted in a single day in September of 2016, I hope you all memorize who you should point your finger at, and it will not be this commission. It'll be those legislators who say this is so important that we burn through this money that they don't care. They don't give a lick about Clackamas County. The drastic effect of that diversion will show quickly. There's a traffic study, the CRC only went to Gleason Street. Evidently the world drops off the edge at the end of Gleason Street, but I maintain to you there's a great deal of traffic that travels south of that. Interstate traffic, people that live down south, people that live up, work up here and live down there, and the opposite. And we must maintain the integrity of our freeway system, I-205. It is the veritable backbone of transportation in this county. So please watch that. If you have the opportunity to call your legislator or email them to let them know that this is intolerable, that they would cause this diversion, we'd appreciate you doing that. The first 2014 Board of County Commissioners Town Hall will be held Tuesday, February 18th at 7 p.m. at the Wilsonville Community Center, located at 7965 Southwest Wilsonville Road. Again, easy directions, Interstate 205, exit 283, the Wilsonville exit. Head east, you go through 3 traffic signals, look to your left, and it'll say City Hall, but you can find the community center near there. We're in the process of finalizing the remaining town halls for 2014, which will be held in Sandy in April, Estacada in September, and Happy Valley in November. We will have the dates and details posted soon on our website, which is www.clackamas.us. Ladies and gentlemen, again, I appreciate you coming tonight. Look at that, 8 o'clock right on the nose. That's a world's record. Appreciate you coming tonight. I wish you the best. Drive safely home. Unless there be any other further business before it this evening, this meeting is adjourned.